She married another man while still using me. Part 1. The Perfect Girlfriend. I never expected to write a story like this, but here I am. Maybe sharing it will help someone else spot the signs I ignored, or maybe it's just my way of processing a reality so bizarre it feels like a bad Netflix drama. I'm Ethan, 29, and for the last 3 years I thought I was in a committed relationship with a woman named Vera, 27. We met at a barbecue hosted by a mutual friend. She was witty, intelligent, and had this spark that drew people in. When we started dating, it felt like I hit the jackpot. She laughed at my jokes, brought me lunch when I worked late, and even talked about building a future together. A year ago, we moved in together. A modest two-bedroom apartment we split the rent on. It felt right. We decorated together, fought over pink colors, and debated endlessly about whether the living room needed a third plant. Normal couple stuff. But around 6 months ago, things started getting weird. Vera began working late more frequently. She claimed she was under pressure at work, that big promotions were in play, and she needed to show commitment. I believed her. Why wouldn't I? Then she asked to use my credit card. Just for business expenses, she said. They reimburse me, but it takes a while and your credit limit is higher. I didn't think much of it. I had a decent job, good credit, and if she was really trying to climb the corporate ladder, I wanted to support her. Then came the next step. She offered to handle our shared finances, said I was too busy with work and she could manage the bills. Again, I agreed. Things were tight financially, but we weren't drowning, or so I thought. Part 2. A notification and a bombshell. Last Tuesday, while waiting in line at the bank, I finally opened my credit card app to check my recent transactions. I've been putting it off, too tired and trusting to care. That's when I noticed several luxury purchases from places I didn't recognize: handbags, jewelry, spa. My stomach dropped. When I asked Vera that evening, she got defensive. Don't you trust me? I told you these were for work clients. Why are you being so controlling? I backed off, but something didn't sit right. That night, she said she had a team dinner and wouldn't be home until late. I waited for her to leave, then started digging. It began with her laptop, password protected, but she always used her sister's birthday. Within minutes, I was looking at her Instagram, logged into an alternate account I'd never seen. The first post I saw nearly knocked the wind out of me. Vera in a white wedding dress, standing next to a tall man I didn't recognize, smiling like she just won the lottery. The caption read, "Finally married the love of my life. Here's to forever." Dated 3 months ago. Dozens of photos followed. The ceremony, the reception, the honeymoon in Cancun. Cancun, the trip she said was a work retreat with her girl boss team, a trip I helped pay for. Part 3. The coffee shop. Still numb, I went to our local coffee shop the next day trying to figure out what the hell I was going to do. That's when I heard her voice, Vera, sitting with her friend Lori sipping a caramel latte and laughing. Ethan is so stupid, she giggled. He really thinks I need his credit card for business stuff. Lori mumbled something I couldn't hear. Vera continued, Robert makes way more money, but he's stingy. Ethan's useful for now. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I walked out without them noticing, my coffee untouched. Because now I had a plan. Part 4. The setup. I packed a bag and went to stay with my sister Cora. I didn't tell Vera I was leaving. When she texted asking where I was, I replied, got called into a work trip. Be back in a few days. She bought it. While she thought I was away, I was collecting everything. Bank statements, chat logs, shared account records. Lori reached out, guilt eating away at her, and gave me screenshots of conversations I hadn't seen, Vera bragging about using me to fund her honeymoon, calling me her backup ATM. Part 5. Playing along, Vera wanted to meet, said she had a new investment opportunity. She needed $5,000, said it would double our money in 2 months. I said sure. I wanted to see how far she'd go. We met at a wine bar. She kissed me on the cheek, played her part perfectly. I recorded the entire conversation. This is going to change our lives, babe, she said, swirling her glass. Just a little more trust. Of course, I said, anything for our future. Part 6. The reveal. The next day, I packed all her things. Every makeup kit, designer shoe, and clothing item I could identify as hers went into boxes. I called our landlord and showed him the marriage certificate Lori had sent me. He agreed to take her off the lease. Then I emailed Robert. Subject, you deserve the truth. Body. Attached, you will find copies of financial records, photos, text messages, and a breakdown of how your wife has been living a double life. I'm sorry it came to this. Attached, a zip file labeled The Truth. Part 7, Collapse. Robert responded the next day. He was devastated, blindsided. We talked. He didn't know I existed. Vera had claimed she was staying late at work or traveling for business. He kicked her out immediately. The fallout began fast. Her friends abandoned her. Robert filed for divorce. Our joint bank accounts were frozen. Her new car, repossessed within days. She showed up at my apartment screaming, "How could you betray me?" "You betrayed yourself," I replied. I just turned on the lights. Part 8. Closure. Weeks passed. Vera moved back in with her parents. No one trusted her anymore. She tried damage control, but no one bought it. The screenshots were too clear. The betrayal too deep. I filed a small claims suit for the $23,000 she siphoned from me. Her lawyer tried to argue it was gifts. My sister's spreadsheet said otherwise. I'm dating someone now, a friend of Cora's. She knows the whole story, and she still smiles when I talk. That's how I know it's different. Sometimes karma needs a little help. Vera gave me the matches, and I just lit the fire. Part 9, The Meeting. 3 weeks after I left Vera, after Robert filed for divorce and I had most of my funds accounted for, she reached out to me again. "I think we need to talk," she texted. Face to face, just once. Normally, I would have ignored her, but part of me needed to see her try and explain it. Part of me wanted to hear what kind of delusion she cooked up in her head. So I agreed. We met at the same cafe, where I'd overheard her bragging about playing me. The irony wasn't lost on me. She wore a long beige coat, sunglasses even though we were indoors, and a tight-lipped smile like she had rehearsed it in front of a mirror. "You look tired," she said, sitting down across from me. "You look exactly the same," I replied. She didn't appreciate that. "I wanted to say I'm sorry," she started, voice trembling just enough to sound sincere. "For everything. I messed up. I got caught up in something and it spiraled. I raised an eyebrow. Something. Vera, you got married. Behind my back. While living with me, while taking my money. That's not a spiral. That's a symphony of conscious decisions." She looked down at her hands. I was scared. "Robert offered stability, but you made me feel alive. I didn't want to lose either. So you decided to lie to both." "I thought maybe one day it would just sort itself out," she muttered. "You mean until you got caught?" She didn't answer. I pulled a small stack of papers from my bag and slid them across the table. "This is the updated claim I'm filing. Cora helped me total it up again, every dollar. I thought you should have a chance to settle out of court before this hits a judge." Vera scanned the first page, her face paling. "You're serious. Dead serious." She started to cry, the way she always did when words stopped working. I didn't flinch. I let her sob. A few people looked over, probably assuming I was the jerk. Let them. I didn't need validation. I had the truth. "I have nothing now," she sniffed. "I'm broke. Robert's gone. My parents barely speak to me. What do you want from me?" "Accountability." She looked up at me, mascara streak. "What happened to the sweet guy I met at that barbecue?" "He got tired of being a fool." And with that, I stood up, left her with the paperwork and her tears, and walked out. Part 10. The Aftermath. A week later, Vera contacted my lawyer to negotiate a repayment schedule. Apparently, her parents agreed to help her, under the condition that she pay every cent back. I didn't ask what she had to promise them in return. I didn't care. Meanwhile, Robert and I had stayed in contact, not as friends, but two men burned by the same flame. He invited me out for a beer one evening. We sat in silence at first, the weight of our shared experience making words feel unnecessary. "How do you move on from something like that?" he eventually asked. I took a sip of my drink. "You don't forget it, but you learn not to carry it." He nodded slowly. "She lied to both of us so effortlessly." "She had practice," I said, and we both laughed. Dry, tired laughter. Part 11. Moving on. Cora introduced me to a woman named Lena a couple of months later. She worked in nonprofit administration, had a rescue dog named Crouton, and made a mean lasagna. We didn't fall into anything fast. We took our time, which was exactly what I needed. The first time I told her the full story, she didn't flinch. Just listened, then made me tea. Sounds like you learned some hard lessons, she said, but you're still standing. That says something. I realized then how rare that was. Someone who listens without judgment, without a reaction designed to make it about them. That was the difference. That's what healing felt like. Part 12, full circle. The last I heard of Vera came from Lori. She sent me a message out of the blue. She's moved to a smaller town, works at a local boutique. Doesn't talk about you or Robert anymore. Thinks she's trying to pretend it never happened. I didn't reply. I didn't need closure. I'd already closed the book. The last thing I added to the court documents was a simple note. This case is not about vengeance. It's about consequences. I framed a copy of it in my home office, not to gloat, but to remember, because forgetting would be the real mistake. And if you've read this far, maybe that's what you should take away too. Listen to your gut, keep your receipts, and never let someone else write your story while they're living a lie. More than anything, never believe that being kind means being blind. Because people like Vera will always test you, and when they do, you don't need to shout. You just need to let the truth speak. And believe me, it speaks loud enough.